Well guys, welcome back to Life on Cars, and this is going to be episode 2 of the wheel bearing job on the Jaguar XK. Look what's turned up. Let's get into the box and see if the right wheel bearings have arrived. Okay, let's see what's in here. Well, that's a good start. The right make that I ordered. Let's get them off. Let's get that just set to one side. Right. So I got these from Ashwood Jag Parts, which was the best place I could find for decent quality ones, so they're not genuine Jags. They would have been over £200 each for genuine Jag ones. I've gone for QH, which is a brand that I trust and it's been around for a long time, and they always do good quality parts. So Quinton Hazel bearings, and hopefully they'll be the right ones. So let's get one out and have a look. Okay, so I've just gone and brought the old one out of the garage, and it looks like they are correct. Just doing a side profile check. Yep, that looks fine. And then just going to do a stud check. Yep, that's spot on. Flange diameter looks to be the same, but I can always check the disc goes over there before I fit it. And the splines look to be the same as well, so that's good news. Looks like we've got the right ones. I've just been giving this hub a bit of a wire brush off, and I've been sanding out the recess for the bearing, just so that it goes back in properly, and just generally cleaning around the ABS hole. But I'll tell you what, this is so light. It's probably the lightest hub that I've ever taken off a car. It's literally, it weighs nothing. So that goes to show you the benefits of using aluminium. But what is heavy is this, the old bearing, because that's obviously a steel construction, the whole thing, and it's very, very heavy. So yeah, what a difference the two materials make. So yeah, what else have I been up to? Just going to spend a bit of time filing up these, getting the rust out of the reluctor ring here, because it has got quite a lot of scale in between the teeth. So while I can get at it, I think it's worth just spending half an hour just getting the rust between the teeth. May even put a little coat of paint on this as well. The other thing I've been doing is just carefully running a hacksaw blade around these threads on this top wishbone ball joint stud, because there's a bit of rust in there, and that's what's causing the nut to bulk up a bit at the end. So just to make my life a bit easier, I'm just cleaning the rust out of those last three get me words out. Those last 3 threads. You can see the rust there. Can you see it? It's just to be honest, this top ball joint nut was the worst bolt to get off of the whole job. The rest of them just came off. But this one, you'll remember, was the one I had to put a little spanner on the bottom. See, that's running up a lot easier now. That's basically going up. That's what I wanted. I wanted it to go up until it starts to hit the nylock. And before, I could only get it probably 1 full turn. It was going tight. So yeah, it's that's going on a lot easier now. So I think I'm just going to spend a few more minutes with the hacksaw blade, and that should get the rest of the rust out. You can get something called a thread file. I thought I had one in my toolbox, but kind of hell is find it. So like I say, I'm just running around with this hacksaw blade just to get the rust out of the threads. And then it'll be back together time. Right, so I'm thinking a bit of a smear of grease just on the inside of this mating surface here, just to help the new bearing slide in. Like so. So I have just done a test fit as well to make sure the disc fits correctly on the hook, which it does. So let's get them bolts running. I'm just going to put a little bit of grease on each of these bolts as well, just to help them thread in. And as usual, we'll start these off with a ratchet, just to make sure the threading in okay. Right, that's them running. Now if you're interested, they are supposed to be torqued to 70 Newton meters. And I will be torquing all these bolts up to the correct torque on this job. The other thing I am going to do as well is just put a tiny bit of stud lock on the back of each one of those bolts. Going to put a little bit of grease on these splines as well. And now that bottom one's located through, I'm going to locate the top one. Fire grease on the stud. Get the nut wound on. Just going to pull that drive shaft into position. Which is there. I'm not going to do the final tightening on that yet. Snipping this top ball joint up. That's it, that's not going anywhere. Now for the tie rod, bolt back in. A little tap. That's it, getting the nut whizzed on that. This toe arm bolt is 55 Newton meters. Now this bottom bolt that goes through the arm here, this bush, I'm not going to tighten this with the arm in the lower position, because when the car gets weight put on it, there's a tendency that it might twist that bush and damage the bush. So what I'm probably going to do when I've built the rest of the components up is I will jack the bottom arm up to the sitting position, the normal sitting position of the car when it's got load on its suspension, and then I'll be tightening this bottom bolt. It just prevents damaging the bush. We do need our ABS sensor back in though, so again I think a little gentle smear of automotive grease around the hole the sensor goes into. Torque setting on the sensor bolt is 10 Newton meters. So as you can see, I've basically jacked the bottom arm up very carefully to a more natural, neutral, loaded position before I tighten this bottom nut, which I can do now. That's it, that's tight. Can get the jack out of the way now. A light smear of brake grease on this mating surface here. Just so it helps to prevent a bit of corrosion build up. Okay, there's the disc in place. We need to get the pad carrier on next. I'm just going to run a nut on again. Let's see what happens if you don't. The disc tries to fall off. Right, I've just given the pad carrier a little clean out where the pads sit. So this is ready to go back on now. 2 bolts at the back, remember. So This is the black one. I'm just putting a bit of extra new fresh brake grease just where the piston contacts, and there where the pad slides in the caliper as well. So I'm going to drop that one in the back of there like that. Now there is a spring clip that we need to figure out next. This little fella that goes on the back. And it just sits in the back of the, in the slot in the back of that pad there. Like that. Now if I was putting new brake pads in, I would need to wind this piston back. You can see there it's got a couple of holes in it where a tool goes in, and you have to push and wind the piston back. But because I'm reusing the pads, then it should just slide back over, back into the correct position. There we go. What I am going to do though is I'm just going to pull these sliding pins out and put some fresh grease on them. Basically these pins allow the caliper, because it's a sliding caliper, they allow the caliper to move that way when you press the brake. So basically there's one piston in the back that comes out, presses the back pad against the disc, and then the caliper needs to go that way to push this brake pad against the disc. And the way it does that is by sliding on two pins, one at the top and one at the bottom. That clip in there that I was talking about, you can see how it's spring loaded now against the back of the caliper, and it stops that inner pad moving around. So we've just got to locate this little clip here which puts a bit of pressure on the caliper to stop it moving around. Super duper. One of the problems with Jags of this era is the wheel nuts. Now that's the right size socket, that's a 19mm socket, and it fits fine on that wheel nut. Fine, slack, fine, but this one, it's tight. In fact, the socket doesn't go on very well. And that's a common problem on these Jags. This chrome covering over the top of the nut swells up with age, and then you start to get a bit of damage occurring to the sides of the the nut, which then leads to a problem with the socket. So just be careful when you're using the wheel wrench that's in the car, or if you're using a socket. If you've got some tight nuts like that one, you've got to really make sure the socket is on far enough so that it doesn't slip when you undo. So really that nut could do with being replaced. So that'll be something I'll be getting around to at some point. Right, I just need to get the wheel on the ground now and do the final torque on that one and turn the car around, and I've got the whole job to do again on the other side. Well, there we go then, one side completed on the Jaguar XK X150 for a rear wheel bearing. I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you got something out of it. I've already got the car turned around and jacked up, and I've made a start on the other side, so hopefully that'll go as smoothly as the other near side as well. So yeah, please give us a like, subscribe if you haven't already done so. I'll be back very soon with something else on Life on Cars. Stay safe and stay well. See you later. Bye bye.